All right, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, episode 57. Another crazy week in the books, and we're ecstatic to have you guys back. And we're just going to get right into it, right before the trade deadline. A lot of crazy things happening right now. Let's get right into it, Hunter.
Yeah, so the first question I have is from the first game of the week on Thursday night, Tampa Bay at Buffalo. I guess my thing is kind of after watching this game, the Bucks fall to 3-4. So what do they do going forward? Do you think that they should try to keep building on what they have, kind of not explode, but like blow it up? And like, it's just like with the trade deadline being tomorrow, do you deal Mike Evans? Like, what do you do if you're the Bucks GM?
See, this is the thing. I think, and again, if they weren't in the NFC South, I'm sure they're looking at it from a perspective of like, well, we could still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
We could still sell extra tickets. We could, you know what I mean? And that's where it makes it tough, is because the NFC South, as we know, such a toss-up. Even though I think it's starting to trend more in a certain direction.
Yeah.
That might not be the Bucks way. It's like you still feel like, you've got it. You've got a real good shot if you're the Bucks and everybody that's involved in that building, involved making money for that team. So that's the things I feel like from that perspective, probably not. But as we've been saying for a while, and this has been our narrative since before the season started, the Bucks are one of those teams in the premier slot, especially because, again, I'll bring it back up as I always do. You already got the job done in recent time. Like you already got the ring, got the banner in recent time. There's no better time after that when you know that things aren't going to be able to really, you're not going to be able to get back to Lombardi land with this team, right? It's like like we say, it's all about windows. It's all about how things line up. Realistically, the stars of the team are going to be too old to realign with young talent by the time that you can make it all work. It's like, let's just ship out the talent now and let's have a real good shot in 3 or 4 years, 5 years to be really competitive again. But a lot of teams are hesitant on that for a lot of reasons. I get it. And the Bucks are definitely one of those teams. But again, if they don't make at least one move in the next day, I do think we're going to sit back and we're going to say why, especially at the end of the year, that they were going to regret it.
Yeah, I think the Bucks have also been a team that has shown that they just don't they're one of those teams that just doesn't blow it up. Like they always are trying to compete, almost kind of like the Saints a little bit. Like maybe that's like an NFC South thing, but no,
it's the volatility of the division.
Yeah. I mean, they lost. I mean, here we can get into the game actually, but they only lost by 6 points. Like it was not like a game that was out of hand. I mean, watching this game though, did you ever feel like Tampa Bay was ever going to like really win this game? Like it still felt like it was in Buffalo's control a little bit.
And again, I think to your point, bro, I think what it goes back to more anything is, and I'm sure you agree with me about this, this is just one of those games where the Bills love to play down to their competition. This is a weekly thing at this point. The trend has not changed. They play fantastic one week and then they come and play really low to the comp or lose to like lower comp than them. And it makes no sense. It's just a Bills thing at this point. So it's like, it's one of the situations like, do I take more from this from the Bucs side or from the Bills side? And it's kind of like when you even it back out, it's like the Bucs played a good game. And it's the thing is they have talent. But again, it's all about if you're not first, you're last in this entire league. And from a realistic perspective, with this roster, the Bucs have such a minimal shot to be the best that it's like you might as well do yourself a favor for down the road so you can be, get yourself assets, because you're not going to get assets for these guys once they walk. You're not going to get assets for these guys. You know what I mean? Once they start getting older, they get injured. A lot of these guys still have value. So that's just how I look at it. Because again, we're getting into it in a second. But as we've been saying, how about this for an example, right? Even we've been saying for so long with Kirk and what's happened now. Bless the man, it's terrible. It's the last thing you want to see. I'm not trying to use this as like a victory lap or anything. Let me be completely clear. But the point stands that especially when it's not in your best interest to even hold on to them in the first place for your future, you got to offload them before something tragic happens where you lose value on them, they lose value on themselves, and nobody's winning. That's just a bad situation for everybody, right? So, that's why it's like
the
you got to make the
reward for the Bucs is way more in the reward than it ever would be the risk, because this team is not making a deep run.
Let's just call it for what it is, right?
Yeah. Just kind of moving over to the Bills side of the game. What does this tell us about the Bills in terms of like how competitive they can be in the playoffs? Like I know they can play with anybody, but at the end of the day, when they continually play these close games down to their competition, what really makes you think that they can go in and go through that gauntlet that is the AFC, whether that's the Chiefs, the Jags, literally any AFC team in the playoffs? Like the AFC playoffs are literally going to be like an any given Sunday type of deal, in my opinion.
That's why it's been so hard to ride with the Bills, as we've been saying for so long now. This has been a 3-4 year thing at this point. They can look like the greatest team in the league one week, but it's never a consistent thing, and it's very unfortunate because I feel like actually what I'll say is there was a year more than anything where they kind of really were getting it going. You
Yeah.
know, and that was when their best year that they've had with this team, and you're like, oh, they really could do it this year, and then same thing in the playoffs. So I just again, for me at this point, it's like I just need to see you do it. Like I need to see you be able to put together 2, 3 in a row, 4 in a row when you need to do it. Because at this point, that is just going to be the Bills' narrative until they change it. They've done this themselves, but it is what it is, right?
No, I agree with you. Do you have any other points you want to go on in this game, or do you want to move on to
Yeah,
the
I had
next one?
one last thing I did want to say though, and if you're a Bills fan, you got to love this. The rise of Dalton Kincaid past 2 weeks. Over the past 2 weeks, 13 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. I was saying when he was drafted, I think this man could be one of the biggest impacting rookies. First few weeks, it kind of looked bad. He wasn't making a ton of plays, but you could see the potential. You could also see that it's a very loaded offense. He's in a little bit of a different situation. You got to really earn your reps in an offense like this. He's earned his reps. He's earned his keep. And if you're a Bills fan, you got to love it because you're just adding another productive mouth to feed in this offense. And Josh is going to feed him. So
Yeah, no, I think they did the right thing with going and getting Kincaid in the draft. I think he was what they viewed as probably the best pass catcher, but could you have imagined if they moved up to get Jordan Addison?
that would be insane.
Him and Diggs would have been nuts. But moving into our next game, we have the Rams at the Cowboys. After what we've seen with the 49ers losing 3 straight, can the Cowboys beat anyone in the NFC? Because half the time I watch them, I'm like, oh, yeah, they can, like how they played the Rams. But then I saw how they played the Cardinals, and I'm like, no. It's just like they're so up and down.
It just hit me. And how has it never hit us before? You know what all it really is the Cowboys and the Bills are just the
I was
the
literally
conference
thinking
versions
this.
of each other. That's all it really is. And that's actually I'm glad we boiled it down to this point because this is something everybody needs to realize at this point. Yeah, really, the Bills and the Cowboys kind of just two and the same, right? Loaded rosters, basically got everything you want. You can't really nitpick too much. Every position group has at least mostly filled out enough that you can go for and compete for the whole thing. Oh, but then some weeks they just show up and it's like this is not the same team that we normally have. If you're a fan,
Right.
especially, you're like, these are frauds. This is not the team we signed up to watch this week. And that's how it feels at this point. It's like I'm not even going to try to differentiate between them. They both have the talent, but they just kind of pick when they want to show up.
Yeah, I think that's my thing too, is like, even when they pick when they show up and like, let's say they play not that great, when they lose games, deep down they're the better team, but watching them, you don't get that vibe. Like the other team will all like typically, in my opinion, at least watching them with the feeling of the game is like, okay, the worst team kind of deserved the win. They felt better in this game. Whereas like sometimes even when Buffalo wins, it's like, they just shot themselves in the foot again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, exactly. And you're spot on. You're spot on. I think I want to open up saying my thing with this thing. And it's crazy because it's true though. Before I was saying, I haven't going to look at the comments. I didn't want to. But safe to say, my prediction for this game was trash, bro.
yeah, it was bad.
I was,
Mine was bad
I'm
too.
sure I'm getting heated right now. But if you're a Rams fan, I'll go over to the Rams here for a second too. Look, Stafford injured again, right? This has got to be incredibly worrisome for the future. I don't know if you're a Rams fan, you probably already went into the season relatively concerned. Sean McVay wasn't even really ready to come back. Aaron Donald was really maybe not really ready, but he came back. And the whole thing with Aaron Donald over the past few years, where you didn't know if he was going to be around. But again, there's so much uncertainty with the way this team's performing now, where you're looking at everyone that's been involved in all this, and you're like, how much longer are they going to stick around?
Right.
How much longer are we going to be able to hold on to our superstars? Because like any other team that starts losing and you have superstars and you're going to start to fight for the future, you got to just scrap them away while they got value. Like the Rams are very quickly going to turn into this type of situation if they don't start winning games. And again, from a realistic perspective, the Rams are going to be in a very tough situation to start winning games consistently. A lot of questions around the Rams, and nobody's really started to ask them yet. But shit, I'll say it. I mean, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Puka, all these guys. I'm sure Puka's in a different situation because you got the rookie contract, but
Yeah.
everyone else is already getting paid. I mean, look, man, they're you can get a lot of value for those guys. And if you're in the Rams at this point, you got to start asking yourselves, is it worth it? And maybe so.
Imagine if Dallas went and made a play for Aaron Donald.
I mean,
That might put him over the top in the NFC.
that's the thing with certain guys. I know it's gonna be so hard to trade away certain guys. And if you're a fan, it's like you don't want to hear that. But if you're an honest fan and you understand how this works, you understand that it has to happen sometimes, and it's the reality of life. All I'm saying is, me, I'm gonna create the narrative. Nobody's really talked about it yet, but the Rams definitely. I think we'll see some superstars being moved around over the next couple of years, next season even.
I think they kind of have to if they want to maintain like being competitive, all, barring like a full on rebuild. Because at the end of the day, they're kind of the philosophy of like, fuck the picks. I know everyone says it, but once you do that, you kind of have to get those back at some point if you're not like a top team.
No, and if you can't attract every single free agent, and also like what I wanted to point out about them is, look, the Rams have had actually pretty good drafts for the picks they've had. Like they're getting good young budding stars with these picks. That's my point. Is it's like it's actually a really good time to, if you keep losing. Again, this is all contingent on that. Let's say they turn around, have a winning streak, whatever. You can turn around. But if they don't, which is probably the more likely thing at this point, then it only makes sense to, bring around some more future value to put around these future stars and rise around them, because it's such a hard time to win right now. What's the point of trying to be competitive right now if you're not going to go all the way again?
I mean, hypothetically, if you're the Rams, like, do you turn down a first and a second and maybe like a fourth for Aaron Donald?
I was going to say, you know what? It's so unlikely. But again, crazier things have happened. Look, the man's coming off a 2-sack game. Look, the value is never going to be higher at a time that they would have wanted to trade. Because it never at any time before this, and any time would anybody intelligent say the Rams are going to trade Aaron, right? That'd be ridiculous. Now it's a point where it actually makes sense for them. So it's like in times where they'd be willing to, I'd say the value it's really high again, right? It's like, all right, he's still playing good. He's at a high level. It's proof, right?
I just think it's like one of those moves that like could potentially like fuel their rebuilding into like a faster success if McVay's going to stick around.
And that's the thing too, is it's like everyone always looks at it like, oh, we disrespect him. It's like, no, not at all. That dude's your franchise legend. Yeah. And if anything, you're helping his last thing for your franchise he ever did was to help you guys get value for the future. You got to look at it like that at the end of the day,
I agree.
And he's still always going to be a Ram, all that type of stuff with any of these guys. Moving on here for a sec too, though, just over the Cowboys. CeeDee's been on a tear the last 2 games.
Yes.
19 receptions, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Darren Bland, a pick six machine.
He has been going crazy.
If I'm not mistaken, one more to tie or break the NFL record. I don't remember which one, but for pick sixes in a season. And so regardless of how you slice it, Darren Bland is on a potentially historic run here.
So he has 3 this year, most pick sixes in a season. Yeah, so 4, it was by Eric Allen in 1993. So that would be crazy, especially coming in for like Trayvon Diggs, who he was the backup to. And, we saw with Diggs, he jumped a lot of routes, got a lot of turnovers, and he's kind of stopped that as much. But I wonder if this is something Bland kind of looked at and was like, oh, okay.
No, for sure. And if anything, too, you can take from this, the Cowboys DB coach is definitely an aggressive philosophy guy.
Yeah, very much so.
Gotta love it.
Do you have anything else you want to say on this game? Or
I'm ready to move on if you are.
All right, Minnesota at Green Bay. Here's my question for you. If Jordan Love continues to play like this for the rest of the year, will Green Bay get a new quarterback next year?
Again, with the thing with Jordan Love, I think he's in one of those situations. I'll even kind of compare him to Justin last year.
Okay.
Hear me out. Where it's like, you see some good, you see more bad, but it's like, we haven't really given him enough to for sure show him out the door yet. It's like an unfair situation. Like the O-line's not good enough to fully evaluate yet. The receiving core is definitely just too young. You got to add another veteran guy in there, another star guy in there. It's like, then you do that in this next offseason, see how it looks then. And it's like, then if it's not the guy, then he's for sure not the guy. That's how I'm feeling the Packers front office is going to look at it, especially from a asset standpoint. Then you have to spend your pick or whatever, a bunch of money on that asset this year.
Right.
You give the guy you spend a lot of assets on another chance before you have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like shell out more assets for the same guy, So I feel like he's got at least one more year, but probably not more than that if they do give him this other year.
I agree. I think a big thing too is like when you're following up 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, like it's just like the fan base doesn't know what to expect when they watch a quarterback who's not just slinging it.
That's why it's almost unfair.
It is very unfair. I could see Jordan Love being successful in the NFL. I've said it before, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I necessarily believe in like the discipline of the Packers. And I think Rodgers like kind of kept everything together. I don't know if Matt LaFleur is the guy that is going to do that.
That's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, because if anything, you know, it's kind of like I'm sure that Matt LaFleur is the guy who's going to have the security over Jordan Love.
Yeah.
But let's say that they decided to start fresh, like off both of them. If they decide that like was really bad next year,
Mhm.
like Matt LaFleur is definitely going to be in a situation now where it's going to be like, we're going to see like because I think I kind of recrowned him a little early. First couple games into the year, I was kind of like, oh, like Matt LaFleur routine still cookies. Definitely not. Because something I had here I want to talk about. It's really interesting. But look, the Packers have one game above 25 points where they scored more than 25
It's been
points this year.
bad.
Like that's really bad, especially when you're Matt LaFleur and you're supposed to be an offensive guy. So if you're the Packers front office, you got to start saying to yourself, look, man, Matt's got to start showing me a little more too. All I'm trying to say is I crowned him a little too early as the Packers guy for sure for the future.
I agree. All right, moving into Minnesota. Kirk Cousins goes down. Just traded a first round pick for him in Dynasty the week before this happens. What does Minnesota do at quarterback?
That's atrocious. You did that. I did not even know that.
I was about to. I'm like one of the best teams in the league, and my weakness was at quarterback. So I was like, "Fuck it, this might put me over the top." He's a top 6 quarterback.
Sickening, bro.
Yeah, sickening.
No, but even more sickening. And on a serious note, prayers up for Kirk.
Yeah.
Great guy. One of you don't want to see it happen to
It
anybody.
was like Nick Chubb getting hurt.
Yeah, it's like one of the last guys. It's like
why?
You're like, come on now. And again, to be clear, you don't want to see it happen to anybody. But a guy like Kirk, it's like, come on now. Kirk, really? And the Terry's been on. Yeah, it sucks. But more than anything, again, now if you're a Vikings fan, there was already bleak and kind of uncertainty looking into the future, right?
Right.
But now it's like, oh man, like we really got to probably brace for a really rough next couple of years. And it sucks, that feeling. I know the feeling. Every fan base probably at this point in your life, if you've watched football for a while, you know the feeling. That's kind of like the Vikings fans right now, where no matter what, you're gonna have to, unless, and all right, let's be, we're objective here. Unless Jaron Hall steps in and just absolutely lights it up and balls out, where it leaves no doubt, which, again, we talk about how likely things are. Is
very
it likely?
Unlikely.
It's very unlikely. So, very likely, then on the other hand, yeah, the Vikings are in a really, really sudden, full-blown rebuild. Because Kirk's not on contract, essentially, anymore.
Yeah.
It's like...
This is one of those situations where it's like you almost should have just tried to get what you could have got for him.
That's what you were saying earlier. And again, it's like a no victory lap stuff, none of that. But this is why you have to get the value off, especially when you know you aren't going to keep them.
Right.
It makes no sense. Like, from a logical standpoint, it actually holds no sense. And that's the thing is why people do it is, if anything, it's when you start to worry too much about stuff you can't control. Like, well, what's he going to say about it? Or what's the media going to say? Or what's the fans going to say? But that's the thing is, when you control a team, you got to be the one making decisions. And too many of these guys are afraid to pull the trigger right when I think things would be perfect. Or maybe they feel like, oh, I'm not getting enough value. I'm not getting exact. But you know what? The market usually is going to tell you what the market's going to tell you.
Right.
And if you didn't take what you didn't take when you had the chance, and now the value's not there, you see what I'm saying?
I agree.
So that's just where I think, if you're a GM, if anything, and you know your guy's going to be gone, it makes no sense to hold on to him for even another minute.
That's what the Giants did with Leonard Williams.
Minus when you have a value on them, right? It's like you decide on a value. That's the thing too, is too many GMs, too indecisive. I'm going to wait a while. I'm going to wait weeks and weeks and see what's offering what. Yeah, well, guess what? Sometimes life doesn't just work like that. You don't just get to keep guessing and hope that they're going to stay healthy playing this violent game. Sometimes if you know you got to get rid of them, you got to get rid of them right when it's time and values at peak.
I agree. You got anything else you want to say on the game, or?
Well, I was going to say, if anything, one note I was going to say is that both these teams too, what makes it so rough with Jordan Love and Kirk, both of their run games are also just so non-existent that it's like that's what makes both these situations so rough. Is with the Packers, you got the young receiving core, young offense, and no run game, and then with the Vikings, it's like you bring Jaron Hall in, and you're gonna have like both bottom 10 rushing offenses, and it's like that is an atrocious situation for both these teams now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Aaron Jones is basically signed through next year. And like, I don't know. Like, I think about like, what if the Colts would have traded Aaron Jones for Jonathan Taylor? Or not Aaron Jones for Jonathan Taylor, but traded for Jonathan Taylor?
That would have been so... No, I know what you meant.
I feel like in hindsight, it's like almost better that deal didn't happen.
It would be crazy, but honestly, yes. And especially because we'll get into it when we talk about the Colts game. I have something I want to talk about with Jonathan Taylor. Last thing I want to say about the Vikings real quick. I got to give Danielle Hunter a shout out. Nobody talks about it recently. Leads the league in sacks and tackles for a loss. 10 sacks,
Okay.
12 tackles for a loss. Shouts to Danielle Hunter.
Yeah. I was curious. I almost feel like maybe he's more... I mean, obviously the deadline's tomorrow. if it's more likely he gets dealt now that Kirk is out.
Again, we're talking about when values are at their peak. Well, you certainly wouldn't find a more peak value on Danielle Hunter.
Moving into Atlanta at Tennessee. Is Levis the real deal?
Well, no matter what, it's way too early to say Levis is the real deal. And the main reason I say that is because it's funny. With the sample size of Levis, really fun fact here. But Marcus Mariota, Fran Tarkenton, and him are the only guys to have done this in their debut. Now, it's polarizing because we know about Marcus Mariota, and then we know about Fran is a Hall of Famer.
Right.
So you have either just certain Titans bust on one end of the spectrum, and then you got Hall of Fame QB on the other end of the spectrum. So, I'm just going to we're still going to throw him right in the middle. We're going to say, all right, look, you had a great performance, and it was a fantastic rookie performance. More than anything, the throws he was making, it wasn't just like, they really weren't just, dropping easy throw. Like, you see like a little, a bootleg scene up where it's wide open. Like he was, hitching.
He was slinging
he
it.
Had his he was really ready with his shoulder fakes. I got to give him credit where it's due. Like, I don't really see rookies coming out their first game very often, like shoulder faking at a lot of the throws. He was like shoulder faking really often and then would throw a dart right over to the next spot of the field right afterwards. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Like he got some savvy going on. Like it really was impressive. It really was. Definitely looked a lot more pro ready than I thought he was going to in his first start, especially if the start was going to happen this year as it did. So yeah, I mean, it's like,
I was not expecting what I saw, but like, and I understand what you're saying. 4 touchdowns, that's a lot.
And go figure. Oh my God, call a man crazy. Maybe when you look at D-Hop all the time and you just throw it up to him sometimes, it's the best option for the team.
There's just zero chance Tannehill gets his job back. Like,
no matter what,
there's no shot.
He could go out and throw like 50 yards, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown next week. And I'm still, if I'm the Titans front office, again, from just the perspective of like, what's the point of even keeping Tannehill out there? Let's see what we got in this guy. And if not, the time's never better than now to realize it because you want to be competitive for the future, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm with you. No matter what, let him keep playing. Let's see what you got in him. Let's see what you got.
So
what's the point in not doing it?
You wanted to talk about Arthur Smith.
Yeah. Well, so my thing, look, let's just get right into it.
Okay.
Again, conspiracy moment, but I'm joking. But I'm not, but I am joking. Does the man trying to get himself fired?
I don't, honestly.
Is he getting tired of the ATL scene? He's trying to relocate the fam. He's trying, quietly in a polite way. No, I was kidding. But it's like, I mean, come on now, bro.
I'm going to keep it a buck. Like, I'm an Art Smith hype beast. Like, I like Art Smith a lot. But some of the stuff is just inexcusable. Like, Jonnu Smith throwing to the 3rd string tight end while fucking Kyle Pitts is blocking in the end zone. Bijan Robinson not getting like a majority of the touches. Drake London. And honestly, I hope this shit changes with Heineke playing, but it won't. It's just like, do you understand like how much talent you have on offense that you are misusing? Like that I think Art Smith's a good coach, but it's like all these other coaches would be like, look at the fucking Vikings with Addison all the time. Like, and it works because he's that good.
I was thinking about this earlier, bro. I mean, tell me, like, this has to be his logic, right? I genuinely think that if I'm thinking about it from a point of view of like, what's he doing? This has to be it. He's got to be saying to himself, like, all right, especially with Bijan, it's like, I'm going to be really careful on him. I don't want to get him too hurt. I don't want to get him too banged up because I want him for the future. But it's like, motherfucker, what makes you so sure that you're going to be here in the future if you don't churn out good performances consistently? And if Bijan's not getting the ball, you probably aren't going to be churning out as good of a performance as you could have been.
Right.
And it's only a matter of time before the front office goes, I don't want a coach that's scared out here coaching. I need a guy that's just going to give my star players the fucking ball. Because I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of owners prefer that. They go, when I go pick and get star guys for the team and we're banking on stars, make them the stars.
Right.
Like, make them brandable. Make them our stars. If anything, the Falcons are like the one team that doesn't even... The Falcons are like starless on offense they do it on purpose. Like, no other team does that. They're like, yeah, man, give your stars the ball. And I agree. I like Art Smith's style. I get the philosophy.
I mean, imagine McVay had these guys.
But that's the thing is, I get the philosophy, but the philosophy works when everybody's like the same skill level and you got a lot of spread out talent. The Falcons are top heavy. Abuse the top heavy talent, especially when we're not that good of a team.
Yeah.
It's a simple logic to me.
I agree. Do you have anything else to say on this game, or else I'm going to bring up some DMs I got from this guy?
No, nothing crazy. Other than, big shouts to the Titans for Derrick Henry still cooking and 6 sacks on the day. Titans D-line going crazy.
Yeah, I said basically he was hyping up Ritter, and he said he makes rookie mistakes unlike the first pick of the draft. He actually has W's, blah, blah, blah. This is before the game ended, but he goes, Dez puts up great pass percentage and something yards, as well as being honest. He's the best rookie QB as of now. And then apparently it was concussion protocol, but I think he got benched because he was cleared from what I understand. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how you watch objectively and say Ritter's the best. That's just...
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just so it's on the record.
Well, we know where Falcons fans are standing right now.
Bro, that's how it's been with Ritter. Everyone is, bro, me and you have both been like, I don't know. I don't think Ritter's good. And then for some reason, Falcons fans are like so convinced.
Still? I haven't keep up. I feel like the ship is probably
I hope it sailed. I didn't get another DM from that dude after the game. Nola at Indianapolis.
Indiana.
How good is the Saints offense?
Maybe if Pete Carmichael doesn't take Xanax before the game or whatever, like jokes aside, it's like, no, when we show up with a good game plan and more than anything, when we decide, you know what, we're going to mix in the power run with Taysom in the game plan. For whatever reason, when Taysom gets a good number of carries, the Saints are just a better team. It's like the element of having to prepare for his big ass and just, like that big, just bringing in 3 extra linemen, bringing in Kalen Saunders as the fullback. It's a nice element to the game. It really is. I'm going to give credit where it's due, especially down on the goal line. Pete, keep bringing the Taysom run out. I go back and forth with this a lot over the years. I've decided finally, especially with Derek Carr and not Drew Brees. With Drew is different. With Derek, let's take some pressure off Derek. Take some pressure off AK. Let's fucking run it with Taysom when we get close to the end zone. Power football. I love Kalen Saunders at fullback too. Nobody's really talking about it. We've been playing Kalen Saunders, our D tackle at fullback, past like 2 weeks. He's just a beast, and I love it. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Good little thing. Derek Carr's been hooping 300 yards the last 3 weeks, 300 plus yards last 3 weeks. I'm not going to say anything too positive. It's like, I'm not going to say anything that's going to jinx it. I'm not going to say anything I'm just going to say, as of right now, it has been a joyous sight in terms of what we were seeing over the first 4 weeks, right?
Kamara seems like he's back. Shaheed's been showing out. Seems like you guys are your players are starting to gel.
I think Shaheed might be turning into one of the best deep threats in the league. I was hesitant to say it because he would do it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Now it's looking like, okay, him and Carr actually have a connection going. It's definitely Pete Carmichael, 2 shots to Pete. He's finally started to implement it in the game plan. Let's throw Sheed on a few deep balls a game, and it makes no sense not to. And more than likely than not, he'll break the shell every once in a while, and we can throw it over the top, get it to him. Love it. And yeah, one other thing I do want to say, I don't know if Olave's in his own head or what's going on. I know stuff's been going on where he got pulled over, all that BS.
Yeah.
None of that shit matters, Chris. Don't worry about it. His past few weeks, it's like dropping easy balls. He literally dropped a touchdown. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see it.
Dropped a touchdown. It just, because again, I was at the game live, and it's when you're watching it from above, you really could not scheme a dude more open than he was on this specific play. And where it's like, my point I'm trying to make is he's dropping balls uncovered. So it's like, and this was stuff he's not doing. I'm like, Chris, just chill, get out your own head. Who Dat Nation's not on you. We want nothing but success from you, Chris. Just chill, get back in your mode. Get back in your mode. We're chilling. So that's my thing is if Chris can get back to even being what he, not even what he was, because he still shows really good flashes. But it's like just, let's minimize the drops, minimize the BS, get on the same page with Carr more and more. The Saints offense definitely has been in line to be one of the better offenses in the league. It's just about the consistency.
Yeah.
The Saints are a lot like these other teams you talk about where 1 week the show will be really good. And then the next week it's like, this is not the same team at all. The Saints are kind of in that same boat. If they can just be consistent on offense, there's absolutely no doubt. Saints offense can definitely gel at any given week.
Getting to see Jonathan Taylor up close, is he back? How did the Colts look?
Here's what I will say. And it's funny you bring that up because Colts fans were talking about this when we were around me, we were talking about this. So it's funny because the man started off so hot, he was going crazy, breaking off 6 yards of carry the whole whole beginning of the game, bro, going crazy, right? And then I think it's they gave him let me just check the exact number right now. Actually, I'll tell you before I don't want to sound ignorant. I'll be able to tell you exactly how many it was. But the point is, after a certain number of carries, they decided kind of just they're going to start going to Zach Moss more. They're going to kind of they stopped giving him the ball. So we got 12 carries total, but I'd say maybe around the 9th, 10th carry. So it's things you didn't get a lot of carries before they already decided. And he had 95 yards. He's averaging 8 yards a carry. And it kind of stopped going to him. And whenever he'd break off a big run, because it happened twice where he broke off a fat gain, where he just broke off the hole and was going deep, he would get really like he'd be breaking, and especially me, I'm like, Saints fans in there, you're like, oh, he's gone, like he's to the crib and that's a touchdown. He would just start like really slowing down pretty quick, like decelerating much quicker than he used to, where we'd be able to like go catch up to him and tackle him, and it was noticeable. So I'll say like definitely, in my opinion, not all the way healthy.
Okay.
I'm sure the Colts fans would agree,
but see,
especially with the amount of touches he's getting. Like,
yeah, I agree. I mean, he's already still getting like almost 100 yards, but like Zach Moss has shown that he can be a reliable option. And I think, I mean, with JT getting a new contract and being injured and all that stuff last year, end of the last year and everything like that, I think they probably don't want to make him the bell cow, even though they paid him.
no, I mean, and again, the way Zach Moss is playing, I'm all in agreement with get Zach the ball. That's actually what I was going to say about the game that makes it so weird. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
They were going crazy on us, just churning out yards on the ground.
And they stopped running the ball.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, thank goodness that Shane Steichen apparently got men in black at halftime.
Yeah.
We would have been fucked if not. Like, so it's like, you know what I mean?
No, I feel
I don't
you.
know why they stopped running the ball. I don't know if both of them were just hurting at halftime and they kind of told, like, it was communicated and they just decided to go away from it. I don't know. But the point is, they could have just beat us up on the ground, and they decided not to. And we appreciate you, Colts Nation, allowing us to get back tied for top of the division. We do appreciate you. But that's the thing. It makes no sense, in my opinion,
Let
more
me
than anything.
ask you this before we move on to the next game. Josh Downs, I've been really fucking with him.
I wanted to say, I was going to say before we finish. That was my last thing I had to say about this game. We said before the year started, he kind of like, to compare him to a situation he could have merged into. Like when Scary Terry first got drafted, that third round selection, just coming out of nowhere and kind of be like your number one guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, is Josh Downs going to do that? Definitely possible. Because first 3 weeks, it was kind of like he's not really making too much an impact, but he'd make a few plays. And you're like, all right, this guy can run routes for sure. And he has good hands. And now, past couple weeks here, or I'll say, last 3 games, 17 receptions, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's coming into his own. And he might be quickly turned into a number 2 on this team. I won't say number 1 yet. But he could be a number 1 in a couple years on this team legitimately. And he's just a great deep threat.
I mean, their wide receiver core is so young. Pittman, Pierce, Downs, like they have like 3 very young receivers who are pretty good. I think Downs has passed Pierce at this point. But like Pittman and Downs, great combo, especially for A-Rich.
Last thing too, because it's so funny you say that. I'll say there was like 20 Colts fans I could hear all talking to each other around, like literally, like they were all chirping like about when things would happen. I'm sorry, this could be just them, but I mean, Colts fans let us know they were saying how much that they all were just like, man, fuck Alec Pierce, man.
Damn.
Like they're like, man, Alec Pierce doesn't fight for the ball. Like they were all just going in on Alec Pierce. And I'm like, dang, I don't know Colts fans felt like this, but I guess that's how certain Colts fans, at least the like 50, 20 hours sitting around, felt.
I don't think he hasn't panned out to what they wanted him to be. I think what they wanted him to be is what Downs is.
That I was going to say, like more of a deep threat, more of, and the thing is, he's like a big target, and it's like you kind of throw it up deep to him, but
I think more like, I think Pierce was supposed to be kind of like a security blanket, and I feel like that's what Downs is for Minshew, and I feel like Downs is just better.
Especially for what I've been seeing at this point, I can already say for sure, in my eyes.
All right, moving on to New England and Miami. The Dolphins are kind of one of those inconsistent teams that we've talked about. What for you is the ceiling for Miami with the current state of like the defense?
I think with Jalen Ramsey back, I'll say again, they are certainly in that range where if you put all the pieces together and you put together 3-4 really good games in a row, they could go win the Super Bowl. I do believe. If Tua keeps playing the way he's playing and stuff, I do believe it's possible. But they're not at a ceiling where it would be like where I'm like they're going to dominate the run. It would have to be like a crazy run, like where you have to get a few breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they could do it. But to your point, it's like realistically in most situations, I'd say probably second round, maybe third round, because again, you definitely still have certain things you want to add to this team. Namely, like I said, more than anything, a dominant pass rusher. But to that point, I'll say, look, Bradley Chubb's been coming to his own. 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles last 3 games. If you're a Dolphins fan, you want to see that consistency. Finally starting to see from Bradley Chubb. The injury thing more than anything and how much that's been a thing in his career is what scares you more than anything at this point, right? But with Jalen Ramsey back, the Dolphins, very competitive team. And for sure, though, definitely one of the top teams in the AFC. It's just they're not like top dog yet, I would say.
Yeah, it would have been, I mean, like, this has not been talked about at all, but imagine the Dolphins went out and got Young or Sweat. I feel like that could have actually really, really helped them.
Well, talk about going all out. I mean, they got the capital to do it still.
That's what I'm saying. Like they can do it. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting move by them, especially if they want to add that pass rusher.
They are building a Madden team, as everyone says.
Yeah, I
so it's like you
mean,
might as well.
Their team is so fast. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is this is just like the Patriots? Like, Bourne, I think tore his ACL.
Yeah,
So
it's unfortunately, yeah. And I would say, like, Christian Barmore, if you want to talk about one good thing about the Patriots, Christian Barmore quietly playing really well. You know, like, so and they got young guys playing well. But then on the other hand, I heard Josh Uche is very likely going to be the one guy that they're really trying to ship out while he's still at peak value. You know, before you got to pay him whatever. So yeah, I'm sure if you're a Patriots fan, it's what the writing is on the wall at this point. Though it's just like you're going to have a lot of rebuilding to do, and that just is what it is. It's like they're in one of those depressing situations for sure. But the Patriots, unlike a lot of teams that are in a depressing situation, you got a lot of good stuff to look back on until you get back into a fighting, when you're in a fighting situation. And drafting, if you draft high this year, they can turn around rather quickly, I feel like. It's like they still have guys in the building that can turn around quickly. It's just a matter of doing it at this point.
Yeah, I don't really know. Do you have much else to say on this game? I don't really know, like, what. I mean, this game, in my opinion, kind of went how I expected it to go.
So I'd say, like, the only things I had really wanted to say is I'm surprised that Jalen and Tyreek exploded for how they did. 15 receptions, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the Patriots defense, I'd figured that would be more than anything who they would be, really key it out and really slow down more than anything. And you got to beat them with other guys. It was, completely opposite. And yeah, just Jalen Ramsey picking first game back. If you're a Dolphins fan, that's got to bode really well for you. And how you feel about, again, how the defense is going to be turned up now that he's back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think as he gets more healthy too, I think that can really give that a boost to that defense. I think like he is one of those guys where it's like a superstar where it's like not only is his play going to impact the team, but just like his presence on the field.
Having him around the younger DBs. And last thing, but because I should have said this earlier, but it's just, I will leave it in this game on a fun fact. Patriots offense has only scored 20 plus points 2 times this season. Fire everybody on the offensive staff.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's just all that.
All right, moving into New York Jets at New York Giants. Are the Giants the worst team in football right now?
Well, with the QB situation like this, certainly. If the QB situation, if we're accounting for, for sure. Like, where do we even start with this game, bro? I got a few things I want to say. I'm sure you got a few things. It's like, where do we even start? Because it's all bad. There's no good in the situation.
No, and like, I think the most frustrating thing, if you really want to talk about it, is the fact that, and we talked about this last week, you paid Daniel Jones for what backups are doing. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones is as bad as Tyrod Taylor or Tommy DeVito, but
I'm saying Tyrod's playing better this year, though.
Oh, he's playing better, but I'm saying, like, anybody in the situation is going to fail. So my thing is, why pay the quarterback if the situation is so bad that he can't even succeed? Usually you pay the quarterback to uplift the situation. Daniel Jones is not that type of guy. So why pay the guy for 3 years? Was it like what? 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 years. My bad.
I do believe. No, I'll double check right now, but I'm almost certain.
Yeah, I think it was 4 years, 40 million or something like that, or 160 million.
Exactly.
But
yeah, no. 4 year.
The situation is so bad, and honestly, no quarterback is making out of this. Like, I don't know. It's just like, why pay the guy if the backups can do the same thing?
Yeah, it's a joke. And unfortunately, Brian Dable put himself into an incredibly fireable situation. The whole Giants staff. It's like, that's another thing about the situation that's so rough is you're looking at the Giants now, and it's like, oh man. Like, who is even going to still, it's like, besides our really young guys that are stars on the team right now, who is even going to still be around in the next couple of years? Like, talk about a full turnover situation, looking like the Giants now. And I didn't think it was going to be like that. Again, we said they were due for a regression.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be like a clean house, worst team in the league potentially type situation. I really didn't. Again, I just want to start with, like, more than anything, this is absolutely unbelievable. 24 punts, most in a game since 2003. And I'm surprised that even happened in 2003. Fuck. Unbelievable it even happened already. I thought for sure it was going to be the record when I looked it up. Minus 9 passing yards.
Oh, it's
least
bad.
in a game in NFL history. You're telling me these motherfuckers were throwing the ball around behind their back with a broken leg in 1930, and they were getting more passing yards a game.
They didn't know how to defend it.
It's like, dude, it's a joke. Actual Madden simulation game. It's just an actual. I had actual note. It was a Madden simulation. This is like when you sim the game on like rookie mode and you're going through the weeks and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Body, but it actually can happen. Sure as shit, it actually can happen. If you want to talk about a positive thing, I guess Kayvon had 3 sacks.
Yes.
If you're a Giants fan, you gotta love that.
I think people were a little concerned about him coming into the game. Now,
Yeah, no, that's the thing is he was due for one of these games where he kind of had to show people up, right? So if you're a Giants fan, you gotta love that.
so are you as a Jets fan? As a Jets fan, not you, not personally, but are you at least satisfied with how Zach Wilson has been playing on the offense? Like, you knew he wasn't going to come out and ball out, but he's not losing you the game.
No, definitely not. I'll say though, this might, in a sense, this almost was like maybe the roughest Zach Wilson game ever. And hear me out, because it's like, I do think to an extent when you're in a situation where it's like, I mean, this is I mean, the Giants couldn't have been giving you the game more, right? And it's like if you couldn't even go up by more than one possession before the last 20 seconds of the game. I mean, again, this is one of those games where it's like, who does it say more about?
Right.
Like, who really? I mean, if you're playing with a third string guy and you literally know they aren't going to pass the ball, you stuff them every single drive basically in the whole game and you still can't go up even one possession or put any points up. It's really disturbing to an extent. And I know they put a lot of pressure on. Again, I know the Giants defense played good, but it's rough. And again, you know me, I go back and forth with Zach. I've wanted Zach to be successful for so long, and it's obvious. I've been saying this for a while, but I'm objective. I mean, this might be the worst of the Zach Wilson games ever, because this is the one where it's like, dude, you literally did nothing.
Yeah.
And I get he did when he had to. You gotta love
that. That's kind of like was my
but nothing
point in that.
And it's like,
yeah. Like he went down when he needed to and he won the game.
But also, I mean, it's like, if he didn't, then what the fuck are we saying right now? I mean, that's where it's like,
no one's talking about it.
It's like, what is the only positive thing I'll say about the Jets from this game is Jermaine Johnson had 2 sacks. Again, you love seeing young guys, you know, that you spent high draft picks on doing work. If you're a Jets fan, you gotta love that. But minus that, I mean, shit, what else do you take away from this game other than our defense has been the truth, and it still is.
Zach Wilson has beaten the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
That's the weirdest thing about the whole thing.
That's crazy,
but
man.
Again,
it's not him.
For what you
it's the
signed
defense,
up about,
for
what you expected, though, and has with A-Rod to have a chance to potentially come back and make you have a fighting chance, you can't ask for anything more. To answer the question objectively, though, you can't ask for anything more.
Imagine the narrative, though, if they beat the Chiefs. Chiefs, Eagles, Buffalo. That's kind of impressive. But
that's the thing. If anything, it's all about we know it's a testament to the defense more than anything.
Yep.
And Salah. Got to give a shout out to Salah while I can.
Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. How far can Pittsburgh go with this offense?
That's just hilarious.
It's just like,
how about to the coaching department looking for a new coach? Is that an answer?
Like, do they have a chance to win a playoff game with the defense?
Again, like we said, I'm not changing my narrative last week. I'm not going to stumble on it. Because I said it's for certain. It is. You know this. It's this thing with the Steelers. They're going to give you a tough game, and they might find a way to win it. So they could. If they found a way to make the playoffs, they definitely could. But more than one, more than two, with this team, absolutely not.
No rusher on Pittsburgh had more than 20 yards.
Sounds like a common theme this year, unfortunately, somehow. And if that can turn into a theme, you have a problem. That's the first thing I actually want to talk about is on top of the fact that the pass game is so inconsistent and shaky, the run game is basically non-existent. Bottom 5.
Horrible.
Garbage. O-line is playing atrocious, especially for Steelers standards. The Steelers as a whole, it's such a shock they're even in the situation they're in right now with the standings, with wins. It's a testament to the defense and how scrappy they are. But again, Steelers are in that same situation a lot of teams you talked about where you could keep competing and like compete with this team right now, but they're not even also in the same situation where you have to even like sell everyone off. More than anything, it's just the uncertainty with Kenny Pickett and everything about the situation at QB, right? I mean, that's really what it's coming down to. Let's call it for what it is. I think Steelers fans are still very much like bought in on Kenny P and the future Kenny P. But again, it's like he just more than anything still comes alive more at the end of games. And it's like, you got to show me the first 3 quarters, right? Like Kenny, let's start the game the way we end the game. Still hasn't done that. It's like he shows good stuff, but realistically,
Well, he's hurt now.
Exactly. The ribs too. It's definitely not something you want to be dealing with. Tell you as a Saints fan, it can seem like it's getting better, and then out of nowhere it's worse again. It's just it's a tough situation. I see moving over to the Jags though.
They're playing with those tiny yellow towels.
Our number one seed narrative is cooking.
Oh, people. I cannot remember the response on that take, but I'll tell you right now, it wasn't good.
Yeah, no, it never is. Whenever like you talk, whatever you say, like whatever you see the future, it's never going to be good because people aren't going to be able to see it with you,
bro. Jacksonville is really that team.
They can be.
They can be
right
when
now
they want to show
too.
up.
That's as of right now. Like I said, our narrative's looking real good, and that's the thing. Like, it's more than anything. Like, it's how the defense shows up that week. It is because this was the thing too. It couldn't have happened at a better time. Where George Pickens was just saying how they're a hope defense. That's something I want to address real quick too. That's just George. You are on such a good streak. Like, you're making everybody respect you. You've been having a great year. Stop that clown shit.
Yeah.
Seriously, I like George Pickens. I think he's a good receiver. He's got a lot of great traits about him. He's awesome. You got to love George Pickens. But that is clown shit. You can't be doing that. You can't say, because I've seen it happen as a Saints fan. I've seen some of the receivers, some of the boys, or some running backs do some clown shit before. You get clowned for it. It's not a good look. You don't want to be doing it, especially when you are a good, respectable player. Don't put those targets on your back because now we have to talk about it, right?
Yep.
You can't call them a hope defense and then have them hold you to 10 points. It just can't happen. But that's the thing, is that after getting called out, they show up. This defense, and again, but it's against the Steelers offense. We need to see it against better teams. But we've seen them do it against the Chiefs. We've seen them do it. Like, they can show up, they can play a good defense. It's just about any given week and if they can do it in the playoffs consistently.
Yeah.
But they are a team that can definitely do it. That's why we said it.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of those teams to me, like the Bills. I honestly feel more confident in the Jaguars than the Bills. I've always been. I really like the Jaguars. I really like T-Law. I really like their offense. I like Doug Peterson. This is truly a team I feel like can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And if you had me picking the game, I would probably lean Jacksonville.
No, yeah. I mean, well, especially, okay, look, Calvin Ridley back on track, question mark?
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley.
Evan Ingram, spazzing.
Evan
Ingram. Zay Jones this game.
Travis Etienne is playing great too.
Oh.
And to shift over to the defense, because he does not get enough love. Because again, I don't want to butcher his name. I literally was even working at the other day, and now I don't want to stumble on it here.
Oluokun?
But Foyesade Oluokun, yeah, I mean, he's playing at lights out, all pro, one of the best defenders in the league. He's gonna get you like at least 10 tackles a game.
Why don't they go get Chase Young or Montez Sweat?
I mean, well, especially with how I don't. Unfortunately, no Jags fans want to hear, but it's true. With the way that Trayvon has been, maybe a little underwhelming, and he had a sack this game. Hey, you want to love to see, right? But you still want to see it consistently. And I think if you add another guy, maybe you can even rotate Trayvon in. Then take a little pressure off him. Move him around wherever you want. I think it can only benefit the Jaguars. Call it for what it is. There's no way it's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you have anything else you want to say on this game, or?
No, yeah, nothing else. This was definitely one of those games, though, where the Jaguars 1 seed narrative thriving.
1 seed Jaguars. Next game, Philly at Washington. After this game, and with the 49ers losing, is it clear cut that Philly is the best team in the league?
Well, I was saying last week. It's helping my narrative from last week. I was like saying I'm certain that, because here's my thing too with the Eagles. It's showing every single week now. Especially if you're a Eagles fan, you know this, right? Jalen is not all the way. Like, you can see it. He's not all the way there. He's hurting a little bit. He's kind of like, but he's laboring, but he's strong. He's strong-willed. He says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go out here. I'm still fighting." Like, especially when I know we can win a Super Bowl right now. It's exactly what's happening, and they very much so can go win a Super Bowl this year, just like they could have last year. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the Eagles, they are the team to me, for sure. The veteran O-line, the veteran D-line, just stars everywhere. You just got Kevin Byard. I mean, it's got to be the Eagles.
I think it has to be the Eagles, too. And here's the thing is, like, they kept this game close against the Commanders. But I will say this. Like, I find it really hard to talk about the Eagles because it's like they just do what everyone expects to do. I mean, A.J. Brown has been unbelievable this year. But
breaking records for most consecutive 125-plus yard games. I mean, it's just, what?
And then you have Devonta Smith, and then DeAndre Swift has been playing well. Obviously not as crazy as he was earlier, but still well. Unless you have anything else to say on the Eagles, I think, like, the focus of this game is really on the Commanders.
No, nothing more about the Eagles other than Julio Jones touchdown.
Okay, Julio. Okay,
Hey, that
Julio.
was hey, you gotta love it. And last thing I'll just say before we move on to the Commanders is like if the Eagles, if they were to pull it off this year, the Eagles are one of those those teams where it's like you've already seen them win it, and if you don't have any ties to them, Philly fans, they're it's like there's not much redeeming factor to hold on to something from a team like Philly where you can't really root for them. What I'll say is this: hear me out. If you're another fan base, if the Eagles win it, as every other fan base, we can say we saw Julio win a ring, and that's what I said I'm gonna hold on to. So I'm like, what if the Eagles pull it off and Julio wins his ring? All right, whatever.
I'd be okay with that.
That would be like the redeeming silver lining for everybody else.
I'd be okay with that. Yeah, no, just talking about the Commanders. I mean, Sam Howell, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw the ball 52 yards. The Commanders' run game really is not that existent. I mean, B-Rob had 10 for 59 yards, which was 5.9 yards per carry. But, I mean, Jahan Dotson had a game. Crowder had a game. McLaurin. That's the thing about Howell is he spreads the ball out pretty well. He's got 2,100 yards this year, 13 touchdowns. Like, definitely a guy I think like that can grow. And I think his ceiling is like really, really high just because he's so talented.
No, if you're a Commanders fan, you got to be saying to yourself, and you should be saying to yourself, this is the guy for at least the next few years. Like, we're definitely going to surround this guy, see what we got for sure in this guy, and we're going to try
get him
to let this guy, right? Let this guy take us. We're gonna definitely let him have a shot, right? To be the guy. You got to. He's definitely got a lot of really good intangibles, a lot of great traits. I mean, shit. The man has 2 games in the past 4 weeks. He's thrown for over 385 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not something you can say about most guys in the league right now.
No.
That's not something you can say about, actually, I don't believe anyone else. So
he's got a cannon.
He's letting it sling. He's getting confident.
Yeah.
He's getting in the offense. That's the thing, too. A guy who's young like Howell, first 2 weeks, you can't expect fireworks. But now that he's getting used to the system and you're seeing fireworks, trust me, you should be licking your chops as a Commanders fan. This is where if it's going to start happening, and it's going to start happening consistently, it really could start happening consistently where you're going to be like, oh, it's another week you just threw over 300. Oh, my goodness, it's another one. That's not. Oh, wait, is this the norm?
It just doesn't happen, yeah.
It could be. With the way he's developing right now and the rate he is, it could be. Again, I could be jumping the gun. I could look like a jackass in a couple weeks. But I'm just saying in terms of could be. Yeah, he for sure could be leaping into that 250 plus, 300 plus yards weeks pretty consistently with how he's looking in this offense.
Yeah,
and that receiving core. I mean, just give the man a line. Get a new. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Ron Rivera's on the outs.
Yeah, he's
get a new coach. Get a new system in place. It's a little bit like you control the ball a little more. The defense is playing better. Sam Howell has got he's got a chance to lead them far in the next few years. Just a matter of what they do around him.
They've played 8 games, and about half of them, there's two he threw for 397, 388, and then there was another game he threw for 299 and 290. So basically half the games this year he's throwing for 300 yards. Like, that really good, especially for basically a first-year quarterback.
Oh, that's the thing. Exactly. I'm looking at him as a rookie. I know he's not, but that's how I'm going to look at him this year from an evaluation standpoint.
Do you have anything left to say on this game, or do you want to move on?
Hey, Jahan Dotson, finally back. 8 receptions, 108 yards, a touchdown. Scary Terry with the crucial drop for the L. That's tough.
Brutal.
But it's, again, with a great receiver like Terry, it gets magnified. But it's like something like, lesser receivers do a lot. It's kind of like you just got to appreciate the man for what he does, and it's bound to happen. It's like
the balls weren't that great, though.
Exactly. He had to throw it low. He threw it low, and it went a little too low, and Terry can't, he can't make every play. It happens. Last thing I want to say, too, is how much worse is this defense going to look without Chase or Montez Sweat? Chase,
I don't know.
Chase Young, Montez Sweat. One of them's probably going to be dealt next day here?
Yeah, within the next 24 hours.
So, I mean, if that does happen, it's like how much worse this defense is going to be.
I don't know. Their D-line is so good anyway.
That's true, but it's like, if anything, I want to say worse. How about more inconsistent?
Yeah, okay. That's fair. All right. Moving into our next game, Houston at Carolina. Okay. Is Bryce Young better than CJ Stroud? First off, they shouldn't have won this game.
No, again, I'm not ready to say either of them are better than the other yet. It's like we take what we can the first couple years, but the evaluation is still so far off from being what it needs to be in terms of, right? It's like Bryce, I still want to see with more guys around him. I want to see Bryce with a better line, right? But, and then with CJ, you could say though, again, with CJ, I still want to see more things built around CJ too. But I need at least a year or two fully before I can. I'm not even willing to say anything on it yet. But I'll say it was definitely what I've been expecting from Bryce.
Yeah.
Or anything. It's like we've seen what I didn't expect to see this year from CJ, and he's already been showing me up. But then with Bryce, it was like, okay, this is what I expected from Bryce. You know, like that was definitely one of the games where it's like, all right, that's Bryce. Like, and it's not even like peak Bryce, but it was like, okay, we're in a rhythm. You know, not just turning it over mindlessly, doing crazy stuff with the football. Get the ball where it needs to be. Adam Thielen eating too. It's like this is just getting out of hand.
The revival of Adam Thielen's career.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if anything, too, it shows you how Bryce is going to pick his number one, and he's definitely going to, whoever his number one is going to eat in that Panthers offense.
Yeah. Miles Sanders just done.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, but, you know, I mean, like we said, again, should I no victory lap here, but again,
no victory lap, but victory lap.
No victory lap.
We've said this is a horrible signing.
Well, no victory lap, but how about this? How about this is why, as a fan, if you don't keep up with, like contracts and player stats a lot, you shouldn't like be commenting on like when people have a comment on your team signing somebody. Because we're not saying it to be like, I'm not saying it to be mean to you. It's like people take it as like I'm being personal. Like, oh, look, like the Saints fans hating on the no. If you guys sign someone good, you make good moves, I'm gonna say it forever.
Right.
But this was just one of those moves. Like, Lord, it was a waste of money, and it was a waste of money. Because we see also now, too, with the Eagles, you can throw almost any running back in there, and they're going to turn out yards. Even like Kenneth Gainwell, who the Eagles fans notoriously have a lot of negative things to say. He's been going through tough times. He still turns out yards in that offense. So my point is, you know, if you pay a guy from the Eagles offense as a running back, you might be getting bamboozled. Sure enough, the Panthers got bamboozled.
Yeah, I mean, you see it with DeAndre Swift. I mean, Chuba Hubbard is the better back, even though he was super inefficient. Not that he's a better back, but just, in my opinion, I would rather play Chuba Hubbard instead of Miles Sanders.
Well, this year? No, especially. Definitely this year. You know, Panthers, and it's the thing, though, regardless, Panthers run is just not been able to get going. Bottom 10 unit. Like, that's the thing too I want to say about Bryce, where it's like, it's why I can't judge Bryce too much yet. Is it's like, if you don't have a good O-line, a minimal receiving core, and you can't run the ball, it's like, there's just not much for me to evaluate on Bryce. It's like, he's just in a terrible situation. It'll get better.
Mingo's been getting better every game, too, though.
Mingo's been coming on these past few games. And like I said, Adam Thielen just staying hot. Over on the Texans side, you know, not too much to say, but other than CJ Stroud, look, least yards he's thrown all season, which was 140, against also the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, it was questionable.
No touchdowns, no interceptions either, but one rushing touchdown. So I guess you actually could say he had a touchdown. If you're a Texans fan, Blake Cashman, just playing amazing football out of nowhere. He's been getting better and better. Like, you know, when he kind of came on early in his career, he was with the Jets, if I'm not mistaken.
Who?
I'm gonna double check. Blake Cashman.
I'll look it up. Go ahead.
I'm almost sure. But yeah, now in the Texans coming over here, he's been playing fantastic football. You know, getting more and more reps every single week. Definitely something to keep an eye on if you're a Texans fan. I know if you're a Texans fan, you probably know about it. But so it's like good situation with the young stars in this team. And then just also disappointing loss for the Texans, though. You know, you really could have stayed in the wild card race, even though it's like it's a long shot. They would have still been like right in there if they won this game. This is one of those ones where you look and it's like, all right, if we had a chance at the end of the year, this was probably gonna be the one that really knocked us out of it, or like maybe really did knock us out of it.
Yeah, they really should have won this game. Yes, you are correct. Blake Cashman was on the Jets. I think something also very, very frustrating is like Dameon Pierce just, I don't know. Like last year, he basically had 1,000. He was about 60 yards short of 1,000 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. This year, 3 yards per carry, 300 or 100 yards, or no, attempts, my bad. 327 yards. And it's just like, what happened with him?
It's almost like
late round running back getting.
It's almost like this is why. Oh, look at he's an asshole. So I nobody's paying running backs.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're the position that drops off out of nowhere.
Yeah. Do you got anything else you want to say on this game? This shit fest?
Yeah, nothing else on this shit fest other than, man, it was even more of a shit fest for Bears fans. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck? CJ Stroud letting down the Bears fans, man. Oh no.
We'll get to the Bears later. Cleveland at Seattle. I'm in a victory lap on this after I ask you this question. Well, not yet. I'll wait. Wait, because if I wait, it's going to be so much sweeter. Can the Seahawks win the NFC West?
They certainly can. We knew this. We're getting hated on. You know, Ben getting hated on for it. Seahawks have always had a chance to win the NFC West. They always had a chance to be a top 3 seed.
Yep.
And it's manifesting. And it's crazy, but it's possible. Certainly possible.
I think what I want to say about this game is I am just okay. We saw Gino last year, right? Like we saw him last year. And I think everyone kind of had the assumption that he would be able to keep up like kind of that level of play. But just watching him this year, I'm like, wow. Like he's actually like a pretty solid quarterback. Like I feel like the Seahawks are just I know he had 2 picks this game, but like I think they're very, very satisfied with the level of play that they're getting from Geno Smith. I don't think they expected more. I don't think they expected less. I think this was like a perfect situation for Geno.
No, it is. And so my thing with the Seahawks is right now, look, that could get even better, right? Give Zach Charbonnet more touches. Why? Like he's balling. Give the man more touches. He'll keep getting you yards. He's a tough runner. I know when you got a guy like Kenneth, you want to give touches to Kenneth. Give Zach some touches. Zach has been the guy since early on in college. That man he's been NFL ready. He's been ready to run someone down. Give the ball to Zach Charbonnet, man. And then Boye Mafe tying the Seahawks team record with 5 consecutive sack games. So not that time you mislead. At least 1 sack in 5 consecutive games, right?
Yeah.
So tying the Seahawks record. And then Reek Woolen back in the interception category. So finally getting back on the board with interceptions here after going crazy last year with, I believe, 6 interceptions last year. So a lot of things came together this game for the Seahawks. I know it didn't really come together to the very end. And PJ Walker basically gave the game up.
Yeah.
But regardless, you know what? A win is a win. And against the Browns defense, it's hard to get points. Hard to get 24 points. They did what they had to do. Won the game. A win is a win.
Jake Bobo.
Surprising a lot of people.
Him and JSN as their rookie receivers. I mean, like, take out Tyler Lockett and it's JSN, DK Metcalf, Jake Bobo. Like, that is a decent receiving core.
Oh, especially from a run blocking standpoint, too.
Noah Fant.
Like, they're sneaky. They're a sneaky core.
Yeah. Browns. And, well, let's not pass over to Seahawks. Just got Leonard Williams.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think they're making that push.
Exactly. Yeah, if anything, you're adding way more force to the defense. Add another guy. Seahawks, scary team.
PJ Walker, man. I think he's outperformed what people thought he would do covering for Deshaun. And I think Deshaun really has to come back next week.
Well, no, I'm going to give PJ credit. He certainly has. Like, yeah, like the completion percentage hasn't looked good or anything. Like, there's a lot of things about it that are like really rough. But he's made enough plays to give them basically a shot every single week they've needed him.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask of him, if not more, right? I mean, it's hard to come in and do that when you're second, third string type of guy. He's doing it. That's all you can ask of him. Yeah, I mean, right. The Browns sold the end of this game. So if you're a Browns fan, this is one that stings. I mean, this is one where it's like you sold the end of the game.
They should be getting Jerome Ford back full health next week.
That will help out. That definitely help
a little
out.
bit.
And that's what's funny is, nonetheless, Browns' run game still churned out, 155 total rushing yards. I mean, that's the thing is Stefanski's going to make it work no matter what. This run game is still going to be efficient no matter what. But yeah, to your point, look, Browns need Deshaun back immediately. And they don't need the Deshaun back that was already back. They need that Deshaun that they paid for back.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, too, Browns very quickly, it's going to fall into the situation of, like, if Deshaun comes back and he's not playing what they're paying for him.
Like the Browns have to make the playoffs this year.
Like it's just not even just a playoff. They got to make a run.
Like they have to win the first game.
You're paying a lot of guys to go on runs right now. This is not just a roster. This is a Super Bowl contending roster in their eyes. It's like you got to make a run.
Yeah, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm very frustrated. I mean, there's probably nothing new for them, but I mean, to have 1 sack in this game against the Seahawks O-line, that's kind of
I'm shocked Myles Garrett didn't get home more.
Are the Broncos back?
I don't think that they're back, but I think they're definitely much, much elevated above like what they were.
Yeah.
But Mike McGlinchey thinks they're back. I was seeing how Mike McGlinchey was saying, like this team, we have belief we're back. So you know what? At least from the locker room perspective, it's good. It's good that they feel like they're back. You gotta feel like you got a fighting chance to somehow make make the wild card or something.
Yeah.
But again, realistically, probably not. Possible, yeah. With the pedigree of Sean Payton, Russell Wilson's team around them, yeah, sure. I'm not ready to all the way count them out. Is really what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
But realistically, probably not back.
I-
They definitely could finish out the season much better than we expect them to finish it out, though.
I think something that's very promising has been Javonte Williams. Like, I think he's finally getting healed from that tear, and it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, Russ had 3 touchdowns. Cortland Sutton's been playing great. Like, Judy had a better game. Like, their team is definitely not what it was week 1 through 4.
No, definitely not. I will say this, though. Again, with like, this was one of those games where, in my eyes, though, it's kind of misleading. Like, if you're the Chiefs and you're turning the ball over 5 times, and they still only put up 24 points. It's where
you have to
it's like
capitalize.
misleading territory. You know what I mean? It's like you got to throw them a bunch of bones for them to make it work.
But does that say more about the Broncos, or does it say more about the Chiefs if you want to head over there?
Well, that's exactly, and that's the thing is exactly that's what makes the Chiefs so scary and always has is that the Chiefs can play a complete shit show.
Yeah,
they're still going to find a way to hang in there. If it wasn't for the muff punt, they probably still would have found a way to win this game, right? I mean, that's just the Chiefs about what it always has been with Mahomes and Andy Reid. So it's like, going over the Chiefs, you shouldn't be concerned, right? I mean, I'm sure everyone feels the same way. If we're being logical, why? There's no reason to panic. There's no reason to be concerned. Mahomes was sick. It's like, it's reality. Not everybody's going to go out there and have a Michael Jordan game. Everybody wants to always make that the narrative, like flu game. Oh, dude, come on, let's be realistic. If he feels like shit, he feels like shit. It showed he felt like shit. Taylor Swift wasn't there for Travis.
Yeah, come on,
it's just
man.
The whole stars were not aligning. It was not like, this was just one of those games where you look as you're a Chiefs fan, and you're like, all right, whatever. It happens. We can't be super team every week. And it's almost like it's better that it happens against a team like the Broncos that you beat as many times in a row as you did. Because then it's just like, it doesn't feel that bad. It's like, we're due.
Yeah.
We're bouncing back. We're due and we're going to bounce back.
I think something promising for Chiefs fans too is Rashee Rice.
We got to talk about Rashee. We're talking about doing someone who's doing exactly what they were drafted to do.
Yeah.
The rack. Just give the man the ball, let him run.
Well, it's like, it's nice that if like he can be that guy for them and be like the 2 to Kelsey, it makes the wide receiver loom not look nearly as bad because Sky Moore is just, I don't know. Tony, I don't know. It's just, if you can get like a number 1 receiver, not to say he's like a true number 1, but if you can get a guy that's number 2 to Kelsey that leads your wide receiver room, I think it puts the Chiefs in such a better spot. I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC besides, well, a lot of people wouldn't consider the Jags the team to beat, but I think the Chiefs are still the team to beat. And if he can develop, especially in his rookie season, I mean, he's got 361 yards, 3 touchdowns, 30 receptions, like not horrible numbers for a rookie, especially taken in the second round.
No, definitely not. Definitely. He's coming into his own every single week. You can see, yeah, exactly. He's, the rack is there. That's what they expected out of him. And if you're getting what you expected right away, you can add on the other skills over time and he will. It's just, it's exactly what you want to see this first year.
100%. So, do you have anything else or are you ready to move on?
Ready to move on.
All right. Let me ask you this. What is the percentage chance the Broncos make the playoffs?
2.
Okay. 2. Baltimore at Arizona. Will Kyler be able to turn the Arizona Cardinals around? I know they won't make the playoffs, but the team has played very competitive every week. Will adding someone like Kyler, who I know will probably be shaking the rust off, knock a few wins on their schedule?
No doubt. No, you can already see it happening now. You can see it. Cardinals walking somewhere like 3-4 wins, 2-3 wins. And you're like, the answer's like, they're the underdog, but Kyle's back. We can see. And them just showing out, having a great game, being like, that's a vintage Cardinals moment. Vintage first half of the season Cardinals moment happening the second half of the season. We haven't seen this happen in a while. Jokes aside. Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's what you need to see if you're a Cardinals fan. You need to see it because you gave Kyler the bag. There's been uncertainty around Kyler for a while. Let the man come back, show the Cards Nation that he's here. He's here to stay. He's here to go. He's here to show off for the city. That's what you want to see if you're a Cards fan for sure. You don't want to, again, like you said, there's going to be the rust knocked off first couple weeks, and it's going to look like that for sure. There goes my alarm too.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I mean, we know it's definitely going to be after the first few weeks he's knocking the rust off. I think we're going to see an explosive performance from this offense sooner or later, for no doubt.
I mean, if you look at it, the Cardinals lost by 7 points to the Baltimore Ravens, who beat a favorite in the NFC 38-6. So whether the Ravens played down to their competition or the Cardinals are just a very, very feisty team, something very positive to look forward to for Cardinals fans, especially even like Trey McBride, 10 catches, 95 yards and a touchdown. Michael Wilson, 4 catches, 58 yards. Marquise Brown, 6 catches for 33 yards. Like, they have a younger receiving core. Like, Marquise Brown is very underrated. And I think once Kyler comes back, you'll see like a jump in production from him.
Oh, certainly. No, for sure. And the way the defense has been playing, it's like you had Kyler back. There's no doubt they're going to knock out at least 2-3 wins with Kyler here back. I'd say, I want to say at least, but how about that? Yeah, for sure.
So what'd you think about the Ravens this game?
Again, it's just, it says more about the Cardinals than it does the Ravens. It's like, I knew the Ravens were going to win. I had a feeling they were going to show up. And we also had a feeling the Cardinals were going to make it close. It's just like they're that scrappy team.
Yeah.
Especially in the sense of that they play up, I feel like. The Cardinals play up to their competition.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like they're one of those teams just play up. They're
They'll
not
play
going to
with
probably
anybody.
win. Yeah, they'll play with anybody. And it's like, this is basically exactly what I expected, especially with them being at home. You got to walk in there. You got to beat the away crowd no matter who it is, no matter how bad the team is. You still got to be fighting the crowd. Ravens did exactly what I thought they were going to do. I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe you want to see more pass yards and you want to see more work on the ground, and it is what it is. But Gus Edwards with the 3 touchdowns on almost 20 carries.
Yeah, he was
Gus
on my
the
bench.
bus going crazy. You got the ball into the goal line and you punch it with Gus. I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to go have a super flashy, have Todd Monken dialing up 400-yard weeks every single week. Sometimes 300-plus yards. Sometimes you can just do this.
As long as you win the game, that's all that matters.
No, exactly.
You got anything more to say on this one or ready to go?
Ready to move on.
All right, Cincinnati at San Francisco. Should the 49ers fans be concerned about Brock Purdy?
I'll say I'm not ready to say that to be super concerned, but you're definitely a tad bit concerned. Because I think, too, the thing is, it's like, yeah, there was a couple bad plays, but more than anything, he did a lot of stuff where, like, if the defense had one of the days that we expect out of this defense, it's like they probably still would have been in the game, had a chance to win the game. Still kind of did to an extent, but you get my point. It's like, and the run game, for whatever reason, just really didn't get going. They didn't really go to the run game that much. Perhaps it's also just because the Bengals started out so hot. It happens. It is what it is. Certain things factor into it. But regardless, 3 losses in a row. And the thing I really want to talk about that I thought was very interesting is that in this case, look, Brock Purdy, 5 interceptions over the last 3 games. He only had 4 interceptions prior to this 3-game stretch in his whole career up to this point. So, it's interesting to the extent of it's like, is he starting to get in his own head with like jumping the gun on reading things too quickly? Maybe I don't want to say seeing ghosts because he's still playing good. If I'm not going to say that he's still making more good plays than bad. But the bad plays is where it's like that's not that's not what we've become accustomed to seeing out of Brock Purdy.
No,
how quickly is this going to turn around, kind of thing?
Well, I think my thing is like the biggest cause for concern is like maybe less about the immediate situation, but more about the future. Like kind of what we were talking about. Like, okay, let's say Brock Purdy doesn't pick it up over these next couple of games. Well, you have Sam Darnold, yeah, but you traded away the guy that you moved up to go get for this guy. And if he doesn't work out, then I think it looks really, really bad. And similar to kind of Jordan Love, like I was saying earlier, like when the situation's not perfect and things start to break down, like he should be kind of filling in that void and he's not. So I think the 49ers fans need to be concerned about the future, less about the immediate situation, because the implications of like what will happen if Purdy ends up not being the guy. You're back to square one.
Well, shit, it just goes back to the whole when Purdy gets the bag, what are things going to look like? I mean, this is him on a minimal contract too.
Yeah.
Taking up no space. When you got to pay the man to take up space and you're losing good guys because of him. And I mean, again, I'm not ready to go there yet because he could totally turn it back around, look like the Brock Purdy we got used to seeing, and then it's all for nothing. I won't even bring it back up. But if this is the direction it keeps trending down, it's only right to bring it up again. And that's what we brought up today. We'll bring it up if we have to again.
You have lost the lead in the division too.
Right. It's like when Purdy gets the bag, what is it going to look like, right? It's something that every 49ers fan has got to start considering if you haven't already.
So Nick Bosa just doesn't play football anymore.
I want to say about this. It's like, I think he's still playing good ball. He's still, he's holding down the edge. He's still playing great run defense. He's still getting close. He's getting home, just not getting the sacks. You know what I mean? It's like just one of those seasons for him right now. But it's like, I think he still deserves he's still playing good football. It's just, he's not getting the numbers up like he used to. CMC tying the NFL streak touchdown record.
Oh, I think he broke it this game, actually.
Okay, I might be mistaken. Was this the one he broke it?
Yeah, hold on, I'll look it up.
Double check for me. I'm going to see.
Consecutive touchdowns scored. No, he has tied it. My bad.
So so he has one
Next
more.
week he would break it.
So yeah, he has a chance to break that next week. I mean, that's just it will be unbelievable. But I have no doubt he can do it. I mean, we'll be waiting for it. Gonna be watching. If you're a Niners fan, you definitely got a lot of faith he's going to do it. Moving over to the Bengals side of things, no doubt Joe Burrow's back, right?
I mean, that was really going to be my question to you is Joe Burrow fully back now?
I'd say this was the best performance of the week, right? 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 43 rush yards. I mean, he just went absolutely ballistic. Jamar also back on an absolute tear. Last 3 weeks, 31 receptions, 372 yards, 4 touchdowns. There's definitely not a hotter receiver in football minus A.J. Brown. I mean, and even arguably at that point, they're just neck and neck. It's just, and then with T. Higgins too. Only second game this year where he had over 5 receptions all year. But it's like, was this the game where he gets back on track?
Yeah.
You got to feel like that. You got to feel positive about it. It's like, well, this is the game that he got back on track.
Feels like the Bengals are finally rolling.
And Joe's been getting back on track.
Yeah.
Mixon, I know Mixon's been moving. Mixon's been getting the touchdowns up, the yards up.
Oh, fuck. They're back, man. Everyone was questioning about it, but they're back. This is like how it feels every year. Every year.
I decided. I said this when the year started. I said it even when they were like 1-3. I had faith in it. They're showing through. They are literally that same DNA the Patriots had. Where and not minus the championships yet. There's no championships here. But that same DNA where they start off really shitty almost every year, and everybody's the same thing. It was always saying to the Patriots, like 1-2, 2-2, 1-3. Everyone's like, oh man, this is the year. Like the wheels are falling off. And it's like, no, they're like, we're still here, bro. They're like, we were just feeling it out. Like the first month to us is almost like feel it out, and then they really start like going at their opponent how they want to go at them. Really start moving how they want to move. That's just how the Bengals are at this point.
Do you have any more thoughts on this game?
Only one I have to do a quick shout out. Quick shouts to the Bengals defense. Swarming, 4th and 3 with turnovers. Again, I guess the Niners, they protect the ball so well. It's an accomplishment.
It is. All right, moving into our last game. Chicago at Los Angeles Chargers. Let me ask you this. Okay. If the Bears lose the next 4 out of the 5, because it's already been announced Tyson Bagent is playing, do we see the first in-season head coach firing?
I think it's like,
I know at that point you might as well finish out the year.
From
but
so many perspectives, I think in a weird way, it's almost beneficial to keep him. And hear me out while I'm saying this.
Okay.
Because we see this happen a lot. Let's just be realistic here. Every Bears fan that is invested in the future of the team and not just the now, and that pays attention to the roster construction, right, team building, would agree that losing out is the best case scenario. See, and here's where it gets what my point comes in, because if you fire Flus, right? The Flus juice, as we know, it's
the
banned.
Flus juice.
Flus juice has been literally contaminated. It has lead poisoning. The factory is shut down, right? But it's like, if you can him out now, and then you get the hype up for a week or two, and there's a new guy, the interim guy gets the squad going. You see it happen all the time.
Yep.
And they win one fucking game. And that one game either makes it where you're in a CJ Stroud type of situation or something. And I'm not using Texas as the example. It's not the same thing. But you get what I'm saying, where it actually helps you out a lot. But more likely than not, which normally is winning that extra game is where you look back and you're like, oh my God, that was the one where we could have had this guy. And what does that game mean to us now? So I think it's like you let the morale keep just fucking rolling like a ball of shit down the mountain. Just let it keep compiling into more shit. Because it's like you tell Flus to go to you kick him out. Then the shit ball stops rolling down the mountain. It gets replaced by a ball of like fucking joy and happiness for a week.
Garbage.
That joy and happiness turns into one win on the fucking sheet. And the one win turns into a decade of what ifs.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why it's like, you just keep him and just let the shit ball keep rolling down the mountain.
That's
the analogy at this point.
So let's get into the Bears, man. Let's get in. What do you want to talk about? Bears or Chargers first? We can just stick on the Bears.
Let's just get the Bears out of the way first. Well, let's just call it for what it is.
Mind
right?
you,
most disappointing team we've had all year, right? I mean, it's just we knew this. We knew that nothing has changed. And what sucks is for you guys is that this was the first week you're not in the number 1 pick category anymore, right? That's a little concerning
because we won the meaningless game against the Raiders,
and because if the Cardinals get that pick, you know how much they're going to be asking for that. I mean, it's to the point where the Bears are not going to be able to get back up. Yeah, the Bears would not be able to get back up there. So it starts to get to the point where I know you guys are a little worried. This is a little worrisome because the Cardinals.
Yeah, but they're getting Kyler back. That's my saving grace.
That is the saving grace. That definitely is. But either way, it's like this Bears team, they could win in one more game. It's like, even with Bayesian out there, it's like, we know the Bears are not a good team. but it's like it's a tough situation no matter what. It banks on literally, yes. That's why we were saying if you're the Bears, right? You but that's what makes it such a fucked up situation. Is nobody in the team on the roster in the building right now is going to be actively fighting to make the team worse. They're going to be fighting to win every week. So it's like the Bears winning games is not good for you guys.
No.
The situation gets exponentially worse the less you have draft capital. And I don't know. It seems like my thing that I've been getting at recently from a lot of Bears fans is it's like a lot of Bears fans seem to think that like just plugging in a couple of line pieces and a new receiver is like the way to fix the situation.
Culture sucks. Everything sucks.
It's like it's not that easy. And again, for me, it starts with you guys getting a generational talent somewhere, and it's got to you guys got to get generational talent this year. Whether it's Marv or whether it's Caleb or one of the QBs you guys want. I think it's got to be Caleb. You guys know where I stand. I know it's polarizing. That's the thing. It's polarizing, and it's going to be really interesting to narrow down towards the end of the year.
Yeah. So Justin Herbert shit all over us.
But are you surprised? Because this has been the Bears defense is almost like a gimme week. If you're struggling QB, you might as well come in and see the Bears defense at this rate. Especially because if I'm not mistaken, Jaquan Brister's going to be injured again this week.
Concussion protocol.
Kyler Gordon out again, right?
I don't know about Kyler. I know Tyson Bagent has been named the starter versus the Saints, even though Justin said that's when he was going to come back.
That is cause for.
Oh no! It's very concerning to the point where I've almost stopped paying attention to the Bears because it's like I don't think the team knows what it wants to do, and it's just like at this point it's like okay, well I have zero hope for like the future right now.
Yeah, the Bears and the Giants are definitely in the two bleakest situations.
Yeah,
I think we can say that right now. If I'm an idiot, you could leave a comment tell me if I'm crazy, but I'd say that's for sure. Right, those got to be the two bleakest situations.
Oh yeah.
Because the Bears are. I mean, you guys are really banking on this draft pick.
Oh, banking on it.
Like you guys are banking heavy.
It needs to be the first overall pick.
It really does. This is it's really this is the draft that's going to be able to either steer you guys into another few years of just rebuilding, or like if you guys can really get the wheels rolling. There's no in between.
Made the Chargers defense look really good.
Yeah, I'd say if you're the Chargers though, you'd want to see the run game get going a little more this game, right? I mean, it was kind of surprising they only put up 1.9 carry with
the
Austin.
Bears. I'm not gonna lie, the Bears run defense has been pretty good the last couple games.
It has. Your guys' run game is good, and your run defense has been good. It's weird. It's like the two redeeming silver linings of the Bears this year.
Yeah. We didn't really get the run off this game, but the Chargers' defensive line did a good job of kind of like consistently pressuring Tyson Bagent, but the Bears O-line, I felt like didn't give up a ton of pressure on Tyson because I think they only had 1 sack on him. But is that a thing of like, does Justin take too many sacks?
Yeah. And also, I want to talk about it real quick. And what better time than right now? What was the thing you sent earlier in the? Because I was busy earlier. I wasn't able to look at, but I saw it real quick. Where it was like the Justin. Like behind the scenes, they're trying to get the announcers of games. Like,
Tyler sent that, but basically it was saying like,
I thought you sent that. My apologies.
It was just like, from my understanding, like the way like Bears brass and like coaches are like speaking about the two quarterbacks, it makes it seem that like they're out on Justin and like that Tyson is playing the way that they want him to play, and like that Justin. I mean, I don't know, bro. Like, why isn't Justin playing versus Saints? And why, like, Eberflus said he's still week to week, not day to day. Like,
yeah, right. Like, and if you're Justin, he's like you said, he's probably ready to get back out there. It's animosity building in a building that already has a bunch of animosity.
Yeah, it's a very bad situation right now.
It's atrocious. But if you're a Chargers fan, get that game you needed desperately.
Yeah,
couldn't have fallen at a better time.
If they would have lost this game, I think Brandon Staley could have been fired.
That was the funniest thing I want to say too before we move on. Is it's like in the locker after the game. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even mean to like rail on the guy, but I'm like, I just don't. He just doesn't get the guys. I feel like he does not get the boys rolling.
No,
like it's just even his post game speech. It was just like, it's like you can't be acting like this when you're out here like. I don't know, man. No. I'm all I'm gonna say is he just doesn't get me fired up. That's what I'm gonna leave it at more than anything. He wouldn't get me fired up personally.
Do you got anything more to say on this game? It's a fucking disappointment. So
disappointing all
I knew
around.
they were gonna lose, but not like that. I knew they were gonna lose probably like this, but I hoped it wasn't like that.
It's how about say prayers for Bear Nation.
Prayers for Bear Nation. All right, well that's all. That's been week 8. Thank you guys for listening.
Yes, sir. And if you guys enjoyed, Drop a like, drop a sub. We'd appreciate you. We'd love to have you back. And you guys have a great rest of your evening or day, wherever you're watching from.